Yeah.
The internet exploded overnight. Fans were left completely speechless. And behind the cameras, a hidden truth was finally exposed. Welcome to Saqi Celeb Talk. Join us as we uncover the biggest celebrity stories, from shocking scandals and secret relationships to emotional breakdowns, luxury lifestyles, public feuds, and the hidden truths behind the headlines. We dive deep into the stories shaping celebrity culture and entertainment worldwide. If you love celebrity deep dives and hidden stories, make sure you subscribe because the next episode gets even crazier. But today, our mission is to unpack the intense real-life trauma and triumph behind Ted Lasso's beloved character, Keeley Jones. We're using Keeley Hazell's memoir, Everyone's Seen My Tits, along with recent interviews and entertainment reports to really get into it.
Yeah, and it's a completely jarring contrast, really, because we are so used to seeing this bubbly, perfectly packaged PR manager on our screens.
Right.
But the human being behind that character had a drastically different reality.
Yeah.
To really understand how she built that persona, you have to look at what she had to survive off-screen, starting in South London.
Right, because her early life was incredibly chaotic. Like, her memoir describes growing up in a working-class council estate where domestic violence was just, a normalized part of everyday life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid in that environment, you look for an escape anywhere you can.
Yeah.
For her, that meant experimenting with drugs really early. Like, she was even smoking crack at age 13.
Wait, 13? That is so young.
It is. But psychologically, when your baseline is that kind of instability and violence, survival just becomes your default mode. You don't process trauma, you just try to outrun it. So when she gets the chance to escape at 18 by entering and winning the Sun's Page 3 Idol competition, she takes it.
I mean, you can't blame her.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And the velocity of that change is mind-boggling. She goes from making absolute pennies working at a hair salon to suddenly buying a luxury Thames apartment and partying with England's biggest footballers.
But see, the way I look at it, she basically traded a literal trap for a gilded cage. Because from the outside, you look at a glamour model in the mid-2000s and see immense wealth, power, and access. But inside that gilded cage, she was entirely unprotected. The industry had zero safeguarding for young women. So you have a teenager who is emotionally numb, heavily drinking, just to cope with the whiplash between her public image and her internal reality.
Exactly. The industry didn't want a complex human, they wanted a two-dimensional fantasy.
Right.
And because she hadn't had the space to deal with her childhood trauma, that normalization of violence just followed her right into adulthood.
But what happened next completely changed the story. Because she ended up in a turbulent and deeply abusive romantic relationship with an ex-boyfriend she refers to as Theo.
Yeah, and this leads to a moment that feels almost like a nightmare. There's this shocking anecdote where Theo actually beats up a famous England footballer who she calls JC.
Oh, wow.
And he does this right in Hazel's own childhood single bed while JC's passed out.
That is just awful.
It's a horrific violation of her personal sanctuary. Her childhood bed, the one place that should represent safety, becomes the site of this violent territorial display by her abuser, and it escalates. When they eventually break up, Theo enacts the ultimate revenge by leaking a private camcorder sex tape of them to the press.
Which is where most tabloid stories end, right? Like with a downward spiral. But her reaction completely flips the script. When lawyers approached her with this highly lucrative deal, basically telling her she could keep selling the tape and take a cut of the royalties, she says no.
And this is the pivotal moment of her reclaiming her autonomy. The entire British media was telling her that her body was a commodity to be bought and sold. By walking away from that money, she was essentially saying, my integrity is not for sale.
Mm-hmm.
She refused to profit from her own violation, choosing her peace of mind over a massive paycheck.
And that's not even the craziest part. When your identity is weaponized against you in your own country, escaping geographically makes total sense. So she packs up and moves to LA for a fresh start. But she didn't just change time zones. She stepped into Hollywood, which is an industry notorious for mining women's stories. She befriends Jason Sudeikis, and he explicitly writes the character of Keeley in Ted Lasso based entirely on her life and personality.
And she was intimately involved in that development. She gave script notes on how the character would actually speak. She auditioned multiple times. She poured her lived experience into this pilot. But despite all of that, the casting department rejects her for a more experienced actress, Juno Temple.
I'm struggling to wrap my head around this. Wait, so she inspired the character, helped shape the script, and then lost the role of playing a version of herself. How does someone mentally recover from watching another actress become a massive breakout star playing you? That's not just a career rejection, that's an existential one.
It creates a profound cognitive dissonance. She admitted in her memoir that it devastated her, to the point where she sabotaged her own screen presence for a while. Think about the psychology there. To survive the rejection, she had subconsciously distanced herself from Keeley the character. Succeeding at auditions meant acknowledging that a stranger was somehow better at being Keeley Hazell than she was.
Which is exactly why we, as listeners, need to think about how we curate our own identities versus how the world perceives us. I mean, how do you survive that level of industry heartbreak without just giving up? But behind the scenes, another secret was quietly unfolding, wasn't it?
Yeah, she took control from the inside out. She swallowed her devastation and accepted a much smaller role on the show, playing Bex, Rupert's new wife, who eventually leaves him. But the crucial move was that, according to industry reports, she actually became a staff writer for Ted Lasso.
Oh, wow. So she stops trying to embody the character on screen and starts pulling the strings behind the camera.
Precisely. She reclaimed her narrative. Writing gave her the power to shape the story rather than just being the muse for it. And that empowerment snowballed. It culminated in her writing and performing a one-woman show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and ultimately publishing her highly praised memoir. She stopped letting tabloids or casting directors dictate who Keeley Hazell was and finally told the world herself.
Which is an incredible arc of resilience. And fans on social media were just stunned when they finally connected all these dots. It totally changes the lens through which you view a supposedly lighthearted show. And it leaves us with this to think about. When we consume feel-good television, how often do we mistake a polished, fictionalized character for the messy, profound, and often painful reality of the human muse who actually lived it?
It's a really powerful question.
You've been listening to Saqi Celeb Talk, where we uncover the stories, secrets, and drama shaping celebrity culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories the internet can't stop talking about.